You can already see by the title. Hold a second. I'm going to be a little controversial today, but today's topic is Megadeth is better than Metallica. Hold on. Hold on. Before you strike me down, before you call me a Megadeth fanboy, let me tell you something. I was a diehard Metallica fan. They got me into guitar in the first place and metal music. So, I'm not taking anything away from them ever, for especially their old shit. And I'll even give them Up to Death Magnetic. I might even give them Hardwired. But they got me into metal music in the first place. Master of Puppets was the first solo I ever learned. And I think it was my first Metallica album that I actually ever bought or ever had. So I'm a Metallica fan. I own every album they have, every studio album. I don't have Garage Inc. yet. There's a couple that I don't have, but all their main albums, like that's their material, I own. And I own all of Megadeth's discography too. But I've been a hardcore Metallica fan probably up until I would say 2016, 2017, maybe even 18. I'll stretch it to 18. And then just over the past 4 years, I've just been diving deep into this Megadeth wormhole, man. I can't even tell you. Megadeth's like my new favorite band now. Next, right up there with Iron Maiden and Judas for sure, and Trivium. So I actually have some notes here on my the notes section, just so I can stay on topic here. So why I think Megadeth is better than Metallica. So I'm just going to close this window because it's so. Megadeth is better than Metallica, and here are my points. I keep forgetting to talk right into the microphone. So, point number one, to me, better material. Holy Wars, Hangar 18, Tornado of Souls, Sudden Death, This Day We Fight, not This Day We Fight, Dialectic Chaos, Trust, Symphony of Destruction, Symphony of Destruction, Sweating Bullets, Angry Again, 99 Ways to Die, Hook and Mouth, etc. The material that Dave can come up with is unbelievable. Now, you're saying to yourself, well, what about the first three Metallica albums? Exactly, which, that's the next point, but we're going to get there when we get there. So, Dave, the stuff that he can just come up with it's off the charts, dude. Like, if you just listen to Hangar 18, which Nick Menza wrote, by the way, the drummer came up with, I think it was the lyrics, or it was the whole song. If you look in Wikipedia, it shows, even though it's not always right, but for music it usually is. For the writers, it just says Nick Menza, and I'm just like, how the fuck? But obviously Dave came up with the guitar parts, but like just listening to Hangar 18, and you listen to Holy Wars, and you listen to 13, you listen to A Tout Le Monde, you listen to all this stuff that Dave can just come up with, and you just don't understand how he can do it. Like, Tornado of Souls is an amazing riff, it's an amazing song. Sudden Death is just basically a pissing contest of solos, and it just melts your brain away. I've never heard Kirk go off like that. Probably I'll give him, well, I want to say the best Kirk's probably even before Master of Puppets. I'm going to say it. Like, his shit on Creepin' Death and Ride the Lightning, he just goes completely off. I want to say that stuff's on par with that. Like, that old Kirk Hammett. And 13 was 2011. And the shit that Chris Broderick just goes off on is incredible. To me, it's just like the material just feels better. It doesn't age like Metallica stuff, and it's probably because I was a Metallica fan for so long, and now that I've been like a hard like the same kind of fan I was for Metallica, I am for Megadeth, but it's been a shorter road, I would say. So that's probably why I'm feeling Megadeth more at the moment. But to me, and as most of the other points, is why I really like them more these days. But I don't know, like, I try to learn, like, a lot of this stuff, and I'm like, how the fuck does Dave do this stuff, man? Like, how is he doing that? Same with James, though. Like, the stuff he did for the first three albums, it's incredible. Like, the first three, And Justice is good, and Black Album is a classic, but the first three albums, we're not going to act like that wasn't Metallica's holy trinity, and probably some of the top three staples of thrash metal. But Dave is still doing that even today, and Metallica's kind of just like, we're going to ride off our success, which is perfectly fine. I mean, that's fine, but when it comes to being better, I think that if you could still produce that crazy, mind-blowing material almost 40 years later, just saying. So the next point is they didn't peak early. Now, people might say, well, they peaked at Rust in Peace. I don't think that's true. I mean, after Rust in Peace, we got Euthanasia, we got Countdown to Extinction, we got United Abominations, we got Endgame, like things like that. I'm trying to, I don't really, because I'm not counting Risk. We're not going to count that. And I'm going to kind of keep Cryptic Writings out of there, because as a whole, albums, they don't really smack like Countdown to Extinction does. Euthanasia is an incredible album. And the other ones that I named, United Abominations and Endgame. Metallica peaked their first three albums, and now that's a common thing that everybody says. Oh, everyone always says that, but it's like, sometimes us diehards, we give the man Justice for All. We throw them that. I mean, that's more of a, here's my skills for Lars, because he definitely peaked in Justice for All. That was some of the best drumming work that you'll ever hear on a metal album, next to basically all of Iron Maiden's early shit, all their 80s stuff. But to me, it's just like they peaked with those three, and it's just like everyone says too, it's just like it's because of Cliff, and I believe that's true, because if you listen to a lot of interviews and you read a lot of articles, like Cliff was kind of the backbone of that band when he joined. Like, he had the music theory behind him. He could just come up with shit like Dave and James could, like back in the day. Like, he can just come up with stuff and he was a big part of the music writing process. And after he passed away, it's kind of like Metallica died too. It's just like, well, what do we do? And they just kind of came up with what they had. So it's crazy to think what Metallica would have been if Cliff was still alive today. I truly think that they would be even bigger than they are, but who knows? Everyone says that, well, maybe they probably wouldn't have sold out, but Metallica says, you know what? We knew Cliff best, and Cliff might have wanted it that way, so it's kind of hard to say, but to me, Megadeth didn't peak at all, really. Like, people say that Risk was their end. It's just like, no. Like I mentioned before, United Abominations came out. Tell me that's a bad album. If you haven't heard it, check out the first three songs, with no, like, in-betweens. Like, they just put the three best songs on there, in my opinion. Burnt Ice is a good one, and Gears of War is a good one. But the top three on that album is just like, bang, 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 bang. Like, Sleepwalker, Washington is Next, and Never Walk Alone, A Countdown to Arms, I think it is. Or Call to Arms. Never Walk Alone, A Call to Arms. Those three songs are fantastic. And for 2000s metal, it's incredible to think that everyone thought, Metallica's taken over, Black Album's all they needed to do, which is true. And Megadeth just came and they kept writing stuff. System Has Failed, to me, isn't that great. I'm giving it a chance more and more. I'm trying to listen. I'm trying to expand my mind. I fell in love with So Far So Good, So What. So I'm trying to do that with System Has Failed. But United Abominations, it took me so long to find that album when I was trying to get it, and when I finally found it, I realized why I wanted it so much. It has a lot of great tracks on there. And then he released Endgame right after. Like, come on, there's no way that they peaked. And then they released 13 after that. Like, 3 back-to-back bangers. And then Super Collider, but we ain't gonna talk about that. And then Dystopia came out, and then now they're coming out with a new album, and Dystopia was incredible too. It's just the new guitar player, new drummer, things like that. So to me, they didn't peak early like Metallica did, which we know the first 3 albums. Sometimes we like to throw in the 4th, and Justice for All. The next point is new band members, which gives the band a fresher feel. Metallica has had the same lineup since 2003, and not that there's anything wrong with that. If it's broke, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I fully stand behind that. However, Megadeth always gets new musicians, and the band just feels like they're new again, if that makes sense. It's almost like when if there's any, like, I'm a gym rat, obviously, so like when I go to the gym and discover a new workout or like a new machine and I really like it, it's just like now I have more to do. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, now I have something else that I can do. It's just like that's how Metallica or Megadeth feels. It's like they get, after Chris Broderick, they got Kiko, and it's just like, okay, what's going to be next? Like, first of all, our hopes were, or everybody's expectations were like, no one's going to be better than Chris Broderick. Like, he just showed off. Endgame was just a exhibition of craziness. For Chris Broderick, he just went off on that album. Same with 13, like Sudden Death, he just goes off, and I'm just like, there's no way that anybody can top that. And Kiko just said, well, hold my beer, here I am. And that was incredible. Then for the studio, or for the album work, and I think the touring of that year was Chris Adler from Lamb of God, who, my hat obviously, incredible drummer, Chris Adler, incredible. So to have him on that album and Kiko on the album, it was two new guys on a whole fresh album, because their last album had the lineup from, I want to say 2007. 2007 to 2014, I think, was when 2014 was when Sean and Chris left. Chris Broderick left. And then that's when Kiko and Chris Adler went, and then now Dirk is obviously the drummer now. But so from 2007, so for 7 years, it was David, Sean, and Chris Broderick. Actually, Chris Broderick came in 2009. I'm a liar. Glenn and Sean, so it was the brothers. So it was basically like the Dime Vinny thing. It was Glenn and Sean on United Abominations, and then 2009. So the same lineup since 2009. So only a couple years, but Chris Broderick definitely made his mark. And then now, when they got Dirk doing a whole new album with them, his work, not just playing the stuff on Dystopia, which he smashes, because Dirk's incredible, but now they have their old bass player back, James Lomenzo, so that's a good thing too. So they've got a new bass player, a new guitar player, and a new drummer. And Dave's like the longest lasting member. He's kind of like the overseer of the group. So it's just like also getting James Lomenzo from last year with the whole David Ellefson thing, controversy there. It's just like every couple of years, Dave just goes out and looks for that musician. And then after James was doing the touring for a little while, he decided to keep him. And I seen him live at the Metal Tour of the Year, and they all sounded incredible. So I don't think that Metallica could necessarily benefit from a new member, and I don't think they should get a new member right now or ever, because it's like, again, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's great setup they have now, but for me, it's just like Megadeth is kind of known for that, and I prefer that because it's like whenever you think they're done, Dave just goes out and finds that, like he's so good at finding the most best players of any instrument. It's mind numbing how he does that. He's so lucky when it comes to that. So new band members and the fresh feel, I think that's a big part to why Megadeth is better. And then this point's going to be kind of short, like, because I kind of covered it in the last point, but extremely talented band members. Like, he found Marty Friedman, Glenn and Sean. I mean, Glenn did his parts on United Abominations pretty well for the guitar. He did all right. Sean was a good drummer. And then he went out and found Dirk, who even Dave himself said is the next coming of Gar, which is a big honor for him. And the new album, if you did not know that Nick Menza passed away, like if you were in a coma from the 90s to now, and you woke up and you heard the new Megadeth, you'd be like, oh damn, Nick Menza's still with the band. Like, Dirk kills it on the new album, and I can't wait for that. and Kiko kills all the guitar parts. His guitar work is so solid that it again, if you close your eyes, if you didn't know anything about the new lineup, if you just thought they never broke up anybody, they never kicked anybody out, it's all the same members. And it feels like that. Like if you hear the guitar and the drums on the new album for the 3 songs that they've shown off so far, it sounds like it's still the Rust in Peace lineup. And that is a huge fucking compliment, because everyone's been kind of craving that and wanting that, because that was the best Megadeth lineup. And since the Peace Sells But Who's Buying days, Chris, Gar, Dave, and David. So I think that they're better just because they have better members. Dave just finds the better musicians, and again, I think he's just really lucky with that. Next point is more material. Now, Megadeth, just because you have more material doesn't mean it's good either. I had to make that perfectly clear. They have a lot more material, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's better. Megadeth absolutely has a few stinkers, just like Metallica has more, I think, than Megadeth does. However, it's like Megadeth obviously should, because they have more albums to do so with, like to be more experimental and stuff like that. Like, I read the Mustaine biography, and Risk is a fucking joke. Risk is terrible, and I'm not just being that guy like, oh, like the Saint Anger hate. It's just like, Risk isn't good. It's just not good. And people say that about Cryptic Writings as well. I'm quite sure that Cryptic Writings was right before Risk, so it's like 2 bad ones in a row. And I kind of think that everyone was a little checked out at Megadeth at that point. That's where people probably thought they peaked. And then they come out with something. They come out with, I think after Risk, it was System Has Failed, I want to say. I don't want to look over there on my shelf, because I kind of want to just take my own word on this, but feel free to correct me in the comments on any of these points too, by the way. But it's just like, they had the first 4 albums just blew your mind away. Killing Is My Business is the first one. Peace Sells But Who's Buying's their second album. And it's on par with Ride the Lightning. Killing Is My Business is not on par with Kill 'Em All, but Peace Sells But Who's Buying is on par with Ride the Lightning, and So Far So Good isn't Master of Puppets, but it's still to me, it holds its own. And then Rust in Peace just completely shits on And Justice for All. Fight me. Rust in Peace is the Master of Puppets for them. That's their Master of Puppets, and they didn't stop there. That's another reason I think Megadeth's better. They did not stop at Rust in Peace. Metallica's first 4, they peaked. Megadeth's first 4, they were just getting started. They had a few stinkers after that. Not right after Rust in Peace, but just like from the 90s to 2000s, absolutely. Cryptic Writings and Risk. Risk, obviously. It's just so bad. And Super Collider's right there with them, but we're just talking from the 90s to 2000s. Euthanasia, great album. What's it called there? Countdown to Extinction, fantastic album, right? So, they have, and then after the 2000s, after United Abominations and all of that, then you got Endgame. Tell me Endgame's bad. Listen to Endgame, Chris Broderick's debut. That kind of made me, like, open my eyes, because I was still in high school when I actually bought that album, and I was just like, you know what, I'm a huge Metallica D-Rider, right? I'm gonna give Megadeth a chance, though, because I just like to consume music, right? And then I heard Endgame, and I'm like, holy fuck. And then they released 13 right after that, which I think, yeah, in high school, I actually, I didn't get into Megadeth until probably like 2012, 2013, so I was able to get 13 and Endgame like at the same time, so I did. I was just like, holy shit, like, they're incredible. I couldn't get over that, and then we got Super Collider after that, which Dave's known to do that. Like, he wants to be up there with Metallica in success when it comes to having more commercial stuff, and he tried something. Like, I went back and listened to some songs on Super Collider, like just the beginnings of songs, and I'm like, it's not as bad as I thought it was. I'm gonna have to give it a full listen again, but it's not as bad as Risk. It's not, but it's bad after 13. Like 13 was so good, and it's like they didn't peak at 13, but it's like it was almost impossible to top that at that point. At least in my opinion. It's just like 13 had sudden death on it, and that basically 13, Millennium of the Blind, um, sudden death, Public Enemy #1, We the People, just Black Swan, just incredible solos and riffs that Super Collider, if you like, it was stupid to be like, oh, we're gonna do the rock approach after we just melted your faces off with 13. But again, it's his band, he does whatever the fuck he wants, and I respect that he tried, and it just didn't work out. But then after Super Collider, Dystopia. Dystopia was a breath of fresh air. And Metallica hasn't done anything like that. And again, you can fight me again. I think Dystopia was better than Hardwired. I listened to Hardwired once when it came out, the release year, I believe. I haven't gone back to. I go back to that album like once in a while. Not even once in a while. Like my buddy, he just goes on how great it is, which he's allowed to say that. I mean, it's not a bad album, but it, like, to me, it felt like Death Magnetic Part 2. I'm just like, after 8 years, this is it? And again, you can't write stuff like that. They're in the big band. That's true. But it's just like, that's the thing as fans, it's like sometimes we expect a little more, and for some reason I'm just like, Kirk's crazy. He can do this shit if he wants to. But it lacked to me, considering, and I think that's kind of the effect of Super Collider was so that when you heard Dystopia, you're like, yes, this is the Megadeth I'm used to. With Metallica, it's like, okay, we heard Death Magnetic, it's gonna be great. I don't know what that was. It's just like, Megadeth's gonna be so damn good. I can't wait. Or no, Metallica, excuse me. That distracted me. So it's like, you heard Death Magnetic, and then you're like, okay, 8 years. What do they got? And then it's just like, Death Magnetic again. It's just like, it's good, but I mean, this is what you got? Like, you look at Megadeth's last album compared to their newest one, which at the time was Dystopia, like Super Collider and Dystopia, that's night and fucking day. But Death Magnetic and Hardwired, it's like, kind of sounded the same to me, and I didn't really dig it. And then their new shit, Megadeth's new shit, which comes out in like 9 days. But we're gonna get to that one later too. So, next point is the live shows are better than you'd expect. I hear a lot of people always go on and always give Dave shit, and just Megadeth shit, like, oh, it's not lively, there's no energy. You have to see them to really feel the energy. Now, just because he's not jumping around the stage like Lamb of God, which the Metal Tour of the Year, you have them going on after Lamb of God, which is an intense performance. It is an amazing set. I become such a huge Lamb of God fan after that show. And not just because I have the hat. I just bought the hat because I wanted another hat, but I said, you know what, let me listen to Lamb of God shit. That's what a live show I think is supposed to do. It's supposed to make you a fan of the bands that you are okay with, but you're like, well, let me see this live performance, and it made me such a huge fan. Like, I'm gonna buy all of Lamb of God's stuff. I only have 3 other albums right now, but I'm in the process of ordering the rest of their material. Like Trivium had really good energy. In Flames, I only caught a couple of their songs because I was in the merch line like an idiot. But it's like, when I could hear of it, high energy, it was great. Trivium had good energy, but they had just enough because they were openers, you know what I mean? Lamb of God and Megadeth were the big guys, so Lamb of God had an intense energy, and then Megadeth, everyone kind of gave shit. It's just like, oh, well, you just saw Randy Blythe hopping around the stage like, like he's a fucking Energizer Bunny. He's just like, Dave's 60 now, like, he doesn't, we don't need that from him anymore. Like, he had more energy in the past. Obviously, when he was with Metallica, he had incredible energy. Like, he was, well, that's probably due to the drugs and the alcohol, but it's like, he was really high energy back then, but it's just like, he doesn't need that. And Megadeth, for me, they don't need it as a whole, and Dave doesn't need it, but it gets the job done. I mean, if people say that there's no energy just from seeing it, like seeing live performances on YouTube and everything, if they come to your city, just go see them. if you're really a Megadeth fan, even if you're not a huge fan, but like tickets are a good price, and you're just like, you know what, I want to see a really high profile metal band. I'm serious. Go see Megadeth. It'll change your whole perspective on their live show. Next point is they stayed closer to the thrash roots than Metallica did. Now, obviously, the infamous, oh, they sold out, they did that, this and that. They all got kids, they all got families. Obviously, it was a smart move business wise. They're probably all set for the rest of their lives. That was smart. They looked out for themselves. They wanted to become the biggest metal band in the world, which they kind of are. They're known for the metal, but I consider everyone considers them a hard rock band now, which they are. They became the biggest, and now they can just coast on their old shit. That's smart to me. But over the years, I've become less of a commercial guy and more about the instrument. Like, I love the Yngwies, the Steve Vais, the Joe Satrianis, like, just virtuosos of the instrument, and just hearing how much people can do on guitars, like Mark Morton from Lamb of God. Kind of chicken shit when it comes to learning his songs. So I'm like, I listen to a song and I'm like, okay, there's no solo, I can learn it, because Mark Morton is incredible on guitar. Anything Chris Broderick, I'm just like, my fingers aren't that good yet. But it's like, to me, it's important to be. The music is the most important thing. Like, you have to sell records, but to me, it's just I would rather have something that I like, and I'm not appeasing to the masses. I'm not alienating my fans just to gain these fans, even though for money wise and success and all that, you have to do stuff like that. But to me, it's just like, I like to stay true to what something is. I like to stay true to the genre. That's what Slayer did, and that's what Megadeth kind of goes back and forth with it, because Dave, like, no secret, he wants to beat Metallica, which in my opinion he has, even though he doesn't have the album sales and all that. Just like we all know, sometimes sales doesn't equate to shit. Just because you sold all of this does not mean you're the best at anything. Like, that's just my opinion though. So they stayed closer to the thrash roots. The new album's coming out. It is amazing. I don't know how the hell he still comes up with this shit at 60 years old. I don't know how the hell he does it. It's fantastic. It comes out September 2nd. Be sure to buy it if you're a Megadeth fan. But yes, they stayed closer to the thrash roots. After Super Collider, they heard all of our complaints, and they went right back to what made them Megadeth in the first place. And I respect that. Metallica were like, okay, we want new material, we want this. What do they give us? S&M 2. Who asked for that? Seriously. Who asked for S&M 2? 100? 1,000? There's no way 1,000,000 people asked for S&M 2. There's no way. No way. Like, we prefer new material, and like they always, and like, I don't, how many times have they remastered Master of Puppets now? Like, didn't they remaster, and they remastered all the albums too, because now you can't get the jewel cases for them anymore at Walmart if you go. Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, and Master of Puppets. It's all those, like, it's not the jewel case, but it's like the paper case, like the thin ones that I fucking hate. And like and then they re-released. They did like a big celebration, like 30-some years of this album, this album, this album. Like, they're always re-releasing and remastering, when I prefer the new material. But again, that's just me. They're on their shit. They're gonna do their success route and the more commercial route, which, go on ahead. I'm not your manager. That's probably why I'm not. But again, personal thing for me, it's just like, if you stay closer to what made you, I can get on board with that. I have more respect for that. So they stayed closer to the thrash roots, at least for me. And they're writing new material. So that's the next point. New material is very important, because for those people who think like the band's peaked and they're too old, when they release something like Megadeth's new album, and you're like, what? Like, no way. That's not Megadeth. And you're like, yeah, that's them. Like, I still listen to We'll Be Back, sometimes on the radio, or Night Stalkers will come on Sirius Radio, and I just shake my head. I was just like, this is incredible. Like, new Megadeth in 2022, and it's good. Same with Iron Maiden's Senjutsu came out, and I was just like, oh my god. this is incredible. Even Trivium in the Court of the Dragon was last year, and I have all their albums too. It's just like, and that was like a year. I think that was like year back to back. They released What the Dead Men Say, and then the next year was In the Court of the Dragon, and those are completely different. Like, to me, that's kind of their Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, because those were released a year apart, which it felt like Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning was like, we have so much material, we're going to split it. And I think that's what they might have done for What the Dead Men Say and In the Court of the Dragon, but it's like year-to-year releases for those two albums, and it's incredible material. But writing the new material is what will get you new fans, and what will get your old fans that might have checked out on you, they'll get them back into the fold. Because Dystopia, incredible. And then everyone said, okay, we love this Megadeth, that you guys are back, it's official. And then Dave just said, well, wait till you hear the new album. And 6 years to make it, which I think it would have came out a lot earlier without COVID, but I think it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because he's pushed this album back, I think, once. So it was supposed to come out, or no, twice. I think it was supposed to come out in April, and then he pushed it back to July, and then he pushed it to September 2nd, which I'm so glad he did, because if you hear the material, A+. I cannot wait to see what ratings this album gets, and hearing the 3 songs off of it, Will Be Back, Soldier On, and Night Stalkers, which are all on YouTube. You guys can go check it out. I'm waiting to hear another Atut Lemon, Dave. I'm waiting to hear, because I know it's on that album. His slow shit is so underrated. I forget the song on Endgame. It's a slow one. It's song number 8. I'm forgetting it now. But there's that one, Atut Le Monde, that other slow one. Millennium of the Blind is kind of slow. 13 is kind of slow. And yeah, those are the only ones I can think off the top of my head right now. But those slow ones, like, he can write some slow shit, and it's going to be good. So yes, writing new material, I think, is what makes them stand out for Metallica. Metallica's not writing new material right now. They're kind of just all over the place. They tour 24/7, which you don't really have the time to write new material, but come on, Metallica, we're waiting. And the last point is they have a new album coming out. Again, that sort of leaks into the writing the new material. The new album, it gets new people in it, and it brings the old people back. And it's just like, if you go on an impulse and you're like, oh, let me try a new band out, you see a band called Megadeth. Megadeth, bro. Like, that just reaches out and grabs you and is just like, yes, buy the album. Same with Five Finger Death Punch. You're like, what the hell? What kind of album is that? Let me take that. I've done that a couple times. I've seen a band and I'm like, that name sounds wicked. I grab it, become a big fan, man. That happened to me, All That Remains. I'm just like, All That Remains? Who the hell is that? I heard 2 weeks. I said, let me grab Overcome, because it's great. But, yes, the new album coming out. And, again, for me, it's all about the music. So the fact that these bands can, like Iron Maidens, the Judas Priests, the Megadeths, Anthrax, all these old cats can still come out with new crazy material, that really gets me excited, because I go to the gym all the time. I like music. I need it. And I play it and I write it too. So it's just like, I need all of this. I need this music. Give me all this music. And it's like, it gives hope, because it's just like, I would love to hear We'll Be Back live, or any of their new Soldier On, Night Stalkers live, even without Ice-T. Like, I would still like to hear it live. And it's the first album that features all the new members, which is, again, that goes back to the point of the fresh feeling. The last album had David Ellefson, Dave Mustaine, Chris Adler for the drum work on it, and Kiko. So that was kind of like a mixed bag. That was like, you got the mix of the old Megadeth with Dave and David, and then you got like the new breed coming in, which wasn't even the new breed, because Chris was kind of just doing that for studio and touring. But Dirk plays it live, all the Dystopia stuff, but Chris wrote all that stuff, so it was like it's a weird feeling of an album. It's just like it's like a Frankenstein album. Like you just got all these people coming in making this album what it is. And then when you hear it live, you're like, oh shit, this isn't the guy that made all the drum stuff, but he plays it like it's his own. So this album, and they even redid, which I think is why they pushed it back. They redid all of David Ellefson's parts. Dave just said, we're not aligning ourselves with you at all. Which I kind of thought was a little disrespect, but gotta do what you gotta do. James Lomenzo was only a temporary guy at the time. He did all his stuff on the new album, and then now he's a full member of the band. So we get the new Megadeth lineup, the official Megadeth lineup, on a new album. So this isn't a Frankenstein thing. This isn't, oh, we're borrowing artists from other bands. No. This is Megadeth. It's all their stuff. The bass, the guitar, the rhythm guitar, and the drums. And it's Dirk's first album. That's what I'm very much excited about. James Lomenzo's done work with Megadeth before, but this is Dirk's first project. And again, when I tell you that this guy sounds exactly like Nick Menza and Gar Samuelson, I'm not wrong there. The drum work is so fucking intense. It makes me want to become a drummer. I'm a guitar player, but I'm just like, Dirk just makes me want to pick up a new instrument, man. So I think that's the last point. The new album coming out, it gets us old fans excited, and it might bring new fans in too. If you have Sirius Radio, find Megadeth, and then just put them on your favorite artists, and then just once in a while, they'll... So, yeah, if you guys agree with my list, feel free to say anything in the comments. You can say whatever the hell you want on my channel, man. I'm fully behind the freedom of speech thing. As long as you just don't troll and bully people, then I won't delete your comment or anything, but anything's fine. If I got stuff wrong, please let me know. Like, say what you want in the comment section. I love to debate. I love to talk music with people. So if these points were good enough for you, then please just leave a comment below and let me know what you guys think. Were my points accurate? Is Megadeth better than Metallica? I think they are. I think my points are pretty valid enough. I think I made just points and points that made sense. And yeah, so this is kind of what I'm going to be doing. I'm kind of going to be touching other topics too, like UFC stuff. Anything that I really like, I'm going to probably talk about. So if there's any like topics that come in those worlds, I'll likely talk about. And just things like that. So I'm just going to be doing like a lot of rants stuff and just general discussion on stuff. So debate is fully open in the comment section. I won't delete comments unless you're just being hateful for no reason, or you're bullying other people in the comments for no reason. You can call people idiot and stuff like that. Like if you make a point that's just so outlandish and you're just like, dude, look, you're an idiot. Like this, and this. Idiot's not terrible. But like if you start being hateful and all that, then I will delete your comment. But other than that, say what you want. Please, please, please be active in the comments with each other. I like to see all of that. I like to just talk music with people. That's just kind of my thing. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you liked the video. Hit the like button if you liked it. Hit the subscribe if you liked it also. You guys already know we like to keep it all the way G. Peace, guys.